I'm wondering, Rosie, what was one of the most surprising discoveries that you had while you were doing your research and talking to these women?
Oh, there's several, but I'll say the one that just jumped in my head quickly, and that is that I thought that given that the media is more diverse now than it was when, say, I was growing up, I really thought that the younger women, that media diversity would be reflected in some of the responses I received from the younger women. What instead I found was that they felt like what really was happening was that the presence of Jennifer Lopez and Salma Hayek and Penelope Cruz and Cameron Diaz, while incredibly positive and reassuring in some ways, also created a bit more of a beauty standard for them than I would have expected. And by that I mean that when I was 16 and said to somebody in Columbia, South Carolina, that I was Puerto Rican, I often had to explain what Puerto Rico was and what I meant by that. There wasn't a real understanding, and so there was no real way to measure me against something that this person knew to be Puerto Rican. Whereas now when a young woman says, I'm Puerto Rican, and they might have black skin, the person looks at them and says, well, why don't you look like Jennifer Lopez? And, you know, that there's just this, the diversity within the Latino community, which is, made up of 20 countries and incredibly diverse and just isn't yet represented. And so the girls feel like, the younger women that I spoke to felt like it created a measure of their beauty that didn't maybe exist 10 years ago.
Well, I know that you found that Latinos in the United States lead all minority groups in cosmetic surgery.
It really blew my mind. I just didn't expect it.
And then also eating disorders.
That's right.
So I guess that would stand to be true based on what you said, how they view being compared to a Jennifer Lopez or something.
Exactly. And so one of the things that came out of the research was, wow, there isn't a significant amount. The women were right. There's not a significant amount of diversity yet in the Latino women that are represented. They're mostly Mexican and Puerto Rican descent, and that doesn't represent what a woman from Guatemala or Ecuador or Salvador might look like. And it certainly doesn't represent the whole spectrum of what women from Mexico or Puerto Rico can look like. And so that other pressure is how accustomed these women have become to these standards of beauty and then sort of jumping on the wheel and engaging in behaviors that aren't healthy for them, but ones that they feel like might get them closer to the standard that they're holding as most important.
And do you think that is the underlying cause of the high rate of eating disorders in Latino girls?
I think that it is. What I heard was that it is a pretty significant part of the tension, that especially for the young women who grow up in not terribly diverse communities, they want to fit in, and genetically their body might be different, and so they have to go to more extreme measures perhaps to feel like they can adjust their body in a way that might look like it fits in. I mean, when you're 15, you want nothing more than to blend.
Sure.
You know, it's interesting. You spend, I think, the first 10 years of your life or 15 years of your life trying to blend, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to set yourself apart.
Isn't that the truth? That's universal for sure.
Yeah.